Unveiled this cabinet and I've given them portfolio. I have decided to speak first on behalf of myself, and obviously because I wear the PDP jersey, to some extent is also, if you like, an opposition position. I've titled it APC's 48 Imprudent Ministers of Nigeria, with a rider: Atiku Okowa's PDP cabinet would have been lean and more equitable. You will notice that I've said to call the ministerial lineup dismal, elephantine, and imprudent is putting it mildly. It is clear that this government wishes to adopt a risk strategy, not in poker, but in the bragging that tries to mask crass ill-preparedness, flip-flopping around issues, and deep psychopathic I don't care attitude. First, should the government be that large at a time when a lean cabinet seems more needful given the financial state of the country? Can a nation be in dire strait and those who created the financial and governance mess, the APC, be shoving it in our faces as though we have become a captured nation with no way out of the slavery of helplessness? The flip-flopper in chief, their government and their cabinet, has started changing the portfolio even before they started the original assignment. You are all aware that they had a different minister for transportation, and then just a few hours they changed that. They didn't have Niger Delta Ministry, and just indicative of trial by error and lack of preparation. Not much has changed in the recycled status quo, resembling the same of same, and the most notorious bullies among them having the undeserved right to add to the misery of the people in some sad reality of gangsterism in the new order. I'm sure you must have heard some of their ministers and the kinds of indecorous bully tactics and language they have displayed even on the very first day in office. The big issue before the nation in no particular order are accountability and justice, stabilizing the naira, security, national cohesion, the economy, that is jobs, national reorientation, to mention but a few. In the last near 42 or so days, our henchman has demystified himself. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has demystified himself and whatever toga of competence that they have mounted. Unfortunately, they neither allowed the media to ask questions during the campaign, nor allowed sober interrogation of the issues by stakeholders, who seem to have been hoodwinked with irrelevancies as against asking the critical questions. They have now resorted to bragging and rake and policy somersault. The biggest joke is a palliative of rice and wholesale delivery of 5 billion in the direction of state governors, which to my mind is like giving the fish to a cat for onward delivery to the rat. That must be truly brilliant indeed. Like you expect that the rat will be able to question the cat, what happened to the fish, or like you do not know that the cat itself has a penchant for eating fish. They have not accepted that either you deregulate or you take your hands off pricing of petroleum products, or you interfere with it like they have done in a veiled return to subsidy, which they claim they are unable to sustain. What a confused lot. It's either you are deregulating and allowing market forces to work, or you are interfering. There is no middle ground. Now, the other one is the I&E window, floating of the forex by CBN. It's unfortunately not yielding anything but misery. Typical of people who act before they think, in a knee-jerk trial and error manner, some kind of voodoo economics. Oh, I forgot. They have no capability or interest in figuring out and placing consequences on those who ran forex aground. Now, the last check, the difference between the bank rates and the black market rates still gives reasonable headroom for illegal profit, arbitrage that is sought to avoid. Then they first scrapped the Niger Delta Ministry. Then they hurriedly put it back. Someone needs to pinch me to wake me up. Not just me, the entire captured people who must, barring the ruling of the court, endure a long road to freedom. There is no point saying the obvious in terms of the lopsidedness and favoritism that the cabinet has shown. Whereas you are unable to do equity to all and sundry, some will get 3, some states will get 3, and some zones will get just 5, and some zones will get 10. Come on. Well, let us now get ready for the consequences of what is before us in this elephantine cabinet that has been inaugurated. Nigerians must learn, and this is the essence of this my conversation, that election choices have consequences. And now maybe I better welcome all of us to dimming hope with nothing assured. Thank you very much. My name is Otunba Segun Sowunmi, PDP Ogun State. Well, I think that the only thing I would say to that is an uncontrollable and unstoppable adult leaves very little room for advice. So perhaps it's just best to say good luck to Wike, Minister of FCT. If you do not know and you have not followed the trajectory, then I think what I have said will be confusing. But I dare say that you are all media men, and therefore there's nothing more to add or nothing more to say. An uncontrollable and difficult to advise adult leaves very little room for you to stop him. Any other question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Has nothing to bury, refuse his academic records. The worst that will happen there is that your academic record should be something you can brag about, but it's not like them to do that. It's like them to pretend as if certain basic fundamentals that would have necessitated certain way of how they got qualified to do certain things must be opaque. If we do not know the primary school you attended, and we do not know the secondary school you attended, we have a right to want to know by what qualification did you go to the university. And if you will not present it on your own, I suppose in the interest of all of us in Nigeria, just for freedom of information purposes, we have a right to ask that the university should come and show us those records. Perhaps we may be able to decipher who exactly we are dealing with here. And if the courts in America have said they have jurisdiction, then let us just say good luck to the courts, good luck to those that are hiding information, and may the best of what is right for all Nigerians and what we can give to our kids, our children, as role model be surfaced. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Tony. I particular action that we are taking right now.
Well, thank you very much. We have become aware, like they have mounted, that all of the things that go to the poor is no longer affordable. It's no longer easy for the poor to be able to buy petrol at the prices and diesel and kerosene at the prices they bought it, because the country can't afford it. It's no longer easy for the poor to buy food the way they've always bought it, because inflation has taken it and spiked it up. We are now asking, how does it even make economic sense that you're going to have a bloated cabinet at a time when you are asking the people to endure? So when they went to the Senate for screening, you were all amused at the rather interesting exercise under the Akpabio-led Senate. And if you recall, when questions were asked at that time, they had said, oh, they're going to do the open screening the way they've done it, but they will have the opportunity in some kind of conclave, as if like you are having a conclave of demons, now decide on the critical issues. But we have, alas, we have seen that they've returned it, and the man who has the responsibility to, let Nigerians know that the country, the citizens will not carry a big elephant of ministers, aides, and all that goes into that. We have a right as opposition to tell them and tell Nigerians this is what we feel. And because none of their plenty talk has indicated any clear pathways to get us out of this mess, except for Jack Nee. Notice I said I mean, how do you reduce a nation like Nigeria to an environment where sending of shipping of rice from the capital to the state is how you do palliative? How often would, how many rounds of that would you need to do? And you're putting out 5 billion naira, so you say, in some form of cash transfer. And I have used an axiom by saying that, look, you're sending the cat to deliver fish to the rat. Do you expect that the rat will come and ask the cat, where is the fish that was sent to me? Or are you naive to think that you are not part of this Nigerian environment, not to know that the cat itself is particularly excited around fish? I think that makes the point clear.
Last question. Yes. There are at least 8 or 9 former governors in the President Tinubu's cabinet. And the suggestion is that he appointed non-political leaders because he's preparing for the next presidential election. I think even the national chairman of the party, the MBJ, referenced this. So, where does, if the president is prepared for the next election already, where does that leave the opposition?
Well, I think that, like I always tell people, the duty of an opposition party is to surface the issues, to try to call Nigerians to the conversation, but the Nigerians themselves have a duty and a responsibility not to reward failure. If there be another election, it will be quite interesting to see whether Nigerians suffer from a high dose of Stockholm syndrome, wherein they bury their head in the sand and pretend as if they are not even feeling the pain themselves. If their lives have been harder, if they have become poorer, if they have been unable to feed themselves, if they cannot even transfer themselves from one point to the other, what more need be said? Elections are opportunities for citizens to pay back to policymakers according to how they feel they've been served. It is a great embarrassment that they even got or were allocated the type of numbers they were allocated. In very serious environment, they should have not been even 3 Nigerians that would have honored them with any vote. Because you can observe from the way things are going that the APC government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is pretending as if the last 8 years of misery is not that of a government of APC where he carried the appellation of national leader. Is he going to step away? Would Nigerians allow him to step away from the mess that his government that he was a part of created? And he made it even much more difficult by now bringing too many of the former governors, too many of the former players who had one thing or the other to do with the policy direction of the last 8 years, as though Nigeria does not have people, fresh young ideas, lean government, people that are a little bit more spontaneous, and a cabinet structure that tries to react to the Onrosai report that has been sitting on their desk saying that you need to make government leaner. And that's what I said, and I say boldly that an Atiku Okonwa cabinet would have been fit for purpose, would have been leaner, and certainly would have been more equitable. The Southeast would never have come so far off the mark in terms of the numbers that they would have gotten.
Yeah, so you said so much mostly about the ministerial candidate, but let me just take it back a little bit to the question I was asking the National Publicity Secretary, Olubaba, a week ago. Let's go back to let me take you back a bit to subsidy now. All of the 3 presidential candidates, talked about subsidy. Atiku talked about removing subsidy and all of that, and basically the subsidy removal has been in the middle of everything else that would have happened. I mean, why do you say that your party may have done anything different?
Okay, thank you. You see, if you recall, Atiku Abubakar, more than anyone else in this country in public space, had advocated for full deregulation of that process and that structure. And has said that using the Aramco model and the Petrobras model, the government of those countries do not interfere directly with the goings-ons in that sector. But the difference between These guys who did not subject themselves to any form of, interviews, you invite them on Arise during campaign, they got angry. You invite them on channels before campaign, they got angry. You wanted to do a Q&A with them, they were not available. You wanted to have governors forum, governors debate, they were not available. They practically gave the Nigerian elite, who could have directed the Nigerian mass, no opportunity to interrogate. And that's why you see they're flip-flopping. What would we have done differently? Certainly, we will never have put the cart before the horse. And we have our history to go back to. In the Obasanjo years, we were very clear that subsidy will be removed in phases, and that for every phase, this was what was going to happen. Even in the Jonathan years, all of our ministers of the economy, Okonjo-Iweala, our CBN governor at that time, all of them went to field trying to get labor on board so that the conversation can be reached and we can then agree the phased model, including topping up of salary and all of the things to cushion the fact that you do not depress the Nigerian economy. Because they thought that they don't need to answer to anybody. Now they have done it, and they're struggling and filibustering all over the place. Certainly our policy would not have been to send bags of rice to the villages thinking that 10 communities will share one mudu of rice. That's no palliative management. And certainly we will never have been a people who would have disavowed the existing data for those that have been getting money from the previous administration, in that their trader money, fire money, and all of that. We would not have disavowed it and started afresh. What we would have done is that we would have cleaned it up in case there are multiple registrations, and we would have used the opportunity of BVN to be sure that you cannot deliver palliative. You cannot deliver, let me repeat, you cannot deliver financial support to the lowest of the low in a wholesale manner. You must do it by retail. And I will not sit here and start to teach a bunch of people who are not interested in doing anything for Nigeria what it should be. When we're done with the court, then we'll go to the next level. But for now, we can only say all eyes indeed are on the judiciary. Thank you. First, it's too large. It's not a reflection of where the country is. Second of all, especially for Ashwaj Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you would have thought that the whole principle of restructuring would have educated them before coming into power, that you don't concentrate too much power in the federal, you diverse the power, and that means that you reduce the number of ministries that you're running here so that service delivery can come nearer the state. You would have expected that they would be more interested in ensuring that the local government system works. Look, these guys didn't speak to anybody. All they did was blah, blah, and joked about issues. And now they have been entrusted with the government temporary, and all of us are seeing the result. Are you telling me you do not know that by putting up an extra 5 billion in the subnational, the risk that that money is going to end up in the black market chasing dollar, given our history, is there? Are you telling me that you do not know that you will not be able to benchmark and verify and ensure that those who need it the most will get it? We can't teach them how to govern. They were campaigning in poetry. Now they are doing merry-go-round, policy somersault. They didn't have a Niger Delta ministry on day one. By day two, they now had one. They had a different man designated for transportation. 5 minutes after. Come on. Have you not been in this country for a while? You've all been in this country for a long while. And you know that when you start to see flip-flop and somersaults, even before they start, it tells you that the thought processes that has gone into forming that government have been fairly shaky. That's all I want to say on that.
Just last question, please. The other time you talked about the eyes on the judiciary, sir. I mean, there are quite a lot of hopes within the PDP that the tribunal may look in the way of your party. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think that when people say eyes on the judiciary, it's a buzzword that young people are the one really running with it. But invariably what they're saying, they are not really trying to bully the judiciary. They're just saying to the judiciary that we are patiently waiting to read how you will rule, because the detail of what you will rule is going to be immortal for all of time. And in many years that Darwin has been dead, he's still being quoted. Rule, let us read, and we will quote you even forever and ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Chairman, as I agree.